Hello, and welcome back to Warrior Moms. I am Michelle Davis.
And I am Amy Durham, and we are so glad to have y'all here with our friend, Miss Christy Howard, talking about something that's very near and dear to her heart, and it's organ donation. This is April when we're filming this, and it is Organ Donation Awareness Month. So that is a big part of Christy and Ashley, her daughter Ashley's story, and how Ashley lives on. And I just want to hear Christy's. They have a very unique story for organ donation. And I'd love to hear you tell us about that, Miss Christy. Thank you for being here.
Yes.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Michelle and Amy, for having me. As Amy shared, April is National Donate Life Month. So there's a lot of awareness and education that they donate life and various organ. There's LifeLink of Georgia is the organ procurement organization for Georgia. Each state has their own. So yes, organ donation is very near and dear to our family. We're kind of unique because we are a recipient family, meaning my father-in-law received an organ, a liver, back in the early 2000s. And when Ashley passed, she was a organ donor. So we've lived through both. Terry's dad, my father-in-law, his name is William, was very sick with hepatitis C, which he got from a blood transfusion way back long ago before they did all the screenings for, when they did blood transfusions and stuff before they screened for hepatitis. He got hepatitis and became very, very sick and was placed on the list to receive a liver. And after about 6 months of waiting and him being very, very ill, he received a liver. He was at Emory Hospital here in Atlanta, and he was able to completely resume a very normal life after receiving his liver. And Ashley
How old was he at that time? About?
He was about 65.
Oh, good.
In that around that age.
Around that age, yeah.
Yeah. And then,
that's awesome.
And he and Ashley shared the same birthday, so they've had a very special bond. He always said Ashley was the best birthday gift he ever received, and so she got to see her papa from very bedridden in the hospital most of the time, to come home again and lead a very active life. So she was very in tune at a young age. We were waiting for his organ, and our kids had a first row seat as to what that looks like, to seeing somebody that might die because they, there was a chance that he might not have,
He would not have survived had he not gotten the organ.
He would not have survived. He was in a very, he was at that state. So yeah, that was, so that was our family's experience with being a recipient. And then we fast forward it to when Ashley turned 15. She went and my husband just corrected me. He was 71 when he got his liver. So I was hesitating. It's, so much has happened since then.
Yes, no, that's what I was saying about. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So she went to get her learner's permit, and when you go to get your learner's permit at 15, they ask you on there if you want to be an organ donor. That's your first opportunity. And Ashley was so excited to sign up at it. I have a picture of her holding her permit, and so little did we know that she turned 15 in October 7 months later, she would be severely injured, brain injury, suffered from a boating accident. Just a refresher, we were at the lake and she was being pulled on the tube on the back of our boat and fell off into the water. And a boat did not see her in the water and ran her over, and the propeller cut her on the back of the head and caused a severe brain injury. And 4 days later, she was pronounced brain dead. So we were approached by the doctors when they started the brain death test, asking us if we, if we thought about or considered, Ashley becoming a donor. And we immediately said, oh, we don't even have to think about it, talk about it. Number one, she is one, which they did not know. So that goes to one of the myths that's often out there. There was no asking us when we arrived at the hospital if she was a donor. There was no asking us in those first, 3 days of treatment where they were doing everything they could to save her if she was a donor. No one tried to dig through her purse and pull out her license to see if she was a donor. Yeah, it's just a huge myth. The doctors and nurses are very much there to try to do everything they can to save your life. And we witnessed that firsthand. And so, but we did say she was a donor. We shared with them our family's story of being on the other side as a recipient, and that was Ashley's wish, and that we absolutely, wanted to move forward with that. So that
now,
was
as much sadness as it brought you to say goodbye to Ashley, did you at that time, did y'all have a little bit of joy knowing that you were giving someone else life, like someone had given your father-in-law life? Or were you just so in the broken that you didn't recognize it at the time?
We absolutely recognized it because he'd been at the hospital day in and day out for 4 days, 4 nights, and she had been declared brain dead. And then when we were presented with the organ donation, that became something that we thought could to become good, something that would be a positive from this horrific day at the lake, that she could save lives. And we were very much, and it was still, even at that point, it was still a lot of things had to be done to make her organs stay viable for transplant. So once you're declared dead first by the doctors, right? Whether it's a cardiac death or a brain death test. So Ashley was brain dead. And so at that point, LifeLink of Georgia has a team that comes in and takes over. They have nurses, they have their own doctors, they're separate from the hospital. So they come in and they start all their testing and to make sure what's gonna be viable, and they're on a time clock to be able to make that happen. So then that process began. We're like, yes, we want her to be a donor, and seeing if that could happen, what she was going to be able to donate. So
were you at the hospital during that whole time as well?
We were there while they were prepping her body, keeping her body. They actually, they start pumping so much fluids and doing a lot of things just to really keep her organs functioning. With a brain death, obviously it's different than if you have, a cardiac death or have a massive heart attack. Obviously your heart's not going to be there. If there's some kind of injury from an accident or a crash or whatever, then your organs shut down and it can't happen. So not everyone that dies, that's another myth, can be an organ donor, but oftentimes they can donate tissue or other, other things that can save people's life, tendons, skin, bone, nerves, valves, that kind of thing. So I
had no idea. I just think about the big organs, like the heart, the liver, the lung, but wow.
Yeah, but it's organs and tissue. So heart, definitely kidneys, lung,
Mhm.
pancreas, liver, intestines, corneas, skin, tendons, bone, nerve, and heart valves. I mean, so think of people that
Wow.
are injured, but they need, things to be able to walk again or see again or whatever. So, but it just
Oh, wow.
depends. Ashley ended up saving the lives of 4 others because her heart, her 2 kidneys, and her liver could be donated. Even with her, there was her lungs. She was in lake water. There was a lot to it because
Mm.
of um, her skin or some of that. I don't even really know some of the reasons why, but just
Mm-hmm.
because of her situation of how she died, and that there were some things that couldn't be donated, and the amount of time, we're talking 4 days
Mhm.
from the time that the accident happened. So there's just so much behind the scenes, because as you asked, Michelle, yes, we were there until she was taken down to the OR for her organs to be harvested. They flew in the doctors, they do it right. She was at Grady, so they're a transplant
Mm.
center, so they could do it all there. um, and we knew that her heart and her heart for sure. We knew that was happening because they kind of went out of. Typically, they're in a region of where organs go based on geographic location because of the time that they have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
And the girl that was the number one on the list was out of state, a little bit further away, and so they were flying those doctors in and everything for it. So we knew that that was all happening. And again, it's just you don't know until the surgery's over if the organs make it, if they survive, and then they get transplanted, and if they take or whatever. So
Mm.
there's just so much to it that people don't understand. It's not that just someone dies and they just can take all the organs, or that they're going to work, or that um, what they have to do to match them and all that. So it's quite a process to make it really happen.
But you knew that Ashley, 4 of her organs have helped 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
They
So a
were in.
young
It's
girl, yeah,
just the beautiful intersections of it all, that her birthday was the same as your father-in-law, that she was
Mhm.
there in the hospital 4 days, and then she was able to save 4 people. I mean, it's just some
it is.
beautiful symmetry. Yeah, it's
And
unbelievable.
I know where I got the 62 number from, that a man that age received her liver. So he was a little bit older gentleman, received her liver, and he received it at Emory too. So that was
He had the jackpot
interesting
on that.
that an
He
older
had
man got that precious little liver.
I know, he got a beautiful thing right there, didn't he? I
Yeah.
love that.
And then two different adult females each received a kidney, and then a young girl that was 8 years old received her
Mm.
heart. So
Oh.
Wow, my gosh.
Oh, that I'm not trying to discredit any of those, but that 8-year-old's mama's heart.
I know, I
Oh
know,
my
Your
goodness.
the joy that
and
she had that day, that
right,
phone
Oh,
call.
and right, that it was
oh my
happening,
goodness.
that it was
Oh.
happening. Yeah, she was being kept alive with what's called a Berlin heart, that basically, you know, keeps your body going, that she wasn't going to be able to function anymore outside of a hospital setting until she
Uh,
received a transplant.
Ugh,
So
that is
yeah,
so moving, Christy. I'm kind of at a loss for words
I
just
am
currently.
too.
It's just, whew, that hits you hard.
it does. And that's what, when I, over the years, because it's been almost 15 years, in June will be 15 years since Ashley um, donated her organs. And over the years of people that, I just don't know if I would have been able to do that if it was my child. And I said, okay, so
Mhm.
are you saying if your child was dying and needed a new heart, you wouldn't take a heart either then?
Yeah.
Yeah. What a
And they're
what a
like, "Ooh,
what a
ooh,
powerful
yeah,
question.
yeah,
Uh,
Yes.
yeah." Right.
See, and I'm the opposite. I could 100% do it. You know, Alec wasn't in a position to be able to donate any
There's a
organs
lot
or
of,
anything.
yeah.
And I think that would be the biggest gift of all is the gift of life for somebody else. And if I'd been asked for him, then absolutely take as much as possible.
Yeah, we had
That's
said the
how we
exact
were too.
Yeah, we had said the exact same thing, and because it was a crime scene,
Mhm.
we were denied, of course, because they had to, complete so much work. It's like, oh my gosh, and I can understand why it was an immediate yes.
Yeah, and that's in her situation, brain death. That your organs are still basically viable and functioning, can really be, you know, the ideal
Candidate,
way for organs to stay viable, even though all of hers still weren't, even with that situation. So it's just, that's what I like to be able to educate people on. It is just not, it's just not this easy process that people think it is, from misunderstand that it is, that there has to be so many things that just go so right for it to happen, which is why there's over 100,000 people as of today are on the national transplant waiting list.
Wow.
And 17 people die every day waiting for a transplant. 17 people. And basically a new name is added to the wait list every 8 minutes.
Oh gosh.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
There's a huge impact that the donors can, with saving up to 8 lives, with the organ, and then with the organs, the main organs themselves, but then 75 other lives could theoretically be impacted with things with the skin and tissue and that kind of donation. So, but I think that there's been a lot of education done over the years, that the myth of way back in the time about, the ambulance drivers are literally going to go in your purse and pull out your license if you're an organ donor, and that they're just going to let you die right then to get your organ. So that to me never made sense. It's like, wait, they're going to let you die so someone else can look like they're going to pick who they're going to let.
And they don't know either one of you. Yeah.
Right.
They don't know anybody. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've never heard that myth,
because I'm afraid they won't save my life. But yeah, so 2024 was actually the U.S. surpassed 48,000 organ transplants. But when you know that there's 100,000 people waiting, that's still, there's still, like I said,
those are daunting numbers. Yes, for sure.
You speak out and you go and you speak to who all do you speak to? Because I know you're an advocate for this, like tenfold.
Yeah, so LifeLink of Georgia, we're volunteer speakers for them. So a lot of times it's educating even the nursing staff at hospitals as they're going through new nurse orientation. The part of their orientation is learning, how to know when to make that phone call to LifeLink to let them know, that there's a possible donor situation, and how to be able to be there for the families and that sort of thing. So we have done a lot of that, over the years. We've been asked to speak at high schools to kids that are getting ready to get their driver's license. So we just various, we've been interviewed by magazine, newspaper articles just over the years, but most of it comes through LifeLink of Georgia because we're registered as, volunteer speakers there. So,
well, and I remember you saying one time, and I don't know when we were talking about this, but it's important for those nurses, those people right there in the trenches during the time to approach the parents, because even though you knew she wanted to be an organ donor, you knew that the answer was yes. It wasn't in the forefront of your mind.
Yeah. And I think that their role is really to notify Lifelink of Georgia, and they have someone on staff there at the hospital, and they're the ones that will approach the families to keep the hospitals and the doctors out of it, but they're still going to be there, you know, like they may come in and say, we want to, you know, ask you to start thinking about this,
Yep.
the Lifelink of Georgia hospital liaison might, and then they might go and let the family think about it. Well, the nurse may walk in the room and, they may ask the nurse, have you ever seen, like, my child's been declared brain dead. Have you ever seen someone come back after they've been declared brain dead? So, they're there for support, that they don't know when they're going to be in the situation of when they, and I share that with them, that even though Terry's dad was a recipient, the 4 days that we were up at Grady before we were asked about that, it never, ever, ever crossed our mind going, oh, we better check on this. I wonder if she can be an organ donor. Like, we never even thought of it. If they wouldn't have asked us, we would have left the hospital without her being a donor, because I don't think we would have ever thought of it. Maybe we probably would have later and been upset, but it has just meant so much to us that we don't think of it. I mean, Ashley, went to be with Jesus. Her soul did, but she literally lives on through her heart is beating in another person's body now, and her kidneys and her liver, she lives on, and not only in those lives, but through the others that have been educated and have learned about organ donation through her story. She was 15 when it happened. Everyone was turning, all of her friends, everyone at Sequoia High School, everyone where she went, middle school, elementary, Kings Ridge Christian, all these kids knew about it. And we've just heard of story after story of people that have signed up, and the impact that her organ donation story goes far beyond those 4 people that she saved. I think that's just many, many, many lives that have been touched because of it.
I love it. I love it. And it's because of your strength that you keep talking and spreading the word and everything and not letting it stop there. And you are helping save other lives. And you're saving a lot of our lives at Warrior Moms, because you are such a true spirit of joy, of finding joy.
Yeah, and you started our group, so we're so grateful for you. And
one of the originals, put it that way. There's been a lot of people that have been a part of it, and I was just happened to be one of the originals that was there for our first meeting. I think it was in 2017-ish, and kind of helped keep it going, just because I administer the Facebook page, and I'm the one that gets a meeting on the calendar every month.
Yeah, you send out the invite. Who's going to host? Who's going to host?
I make it happen every month, but besides that, yeah. But I just feel it's just a huge privilege to me, because I think I'm 15 years down the road. It's just an honor to be able to try to any way that I can offer some sort of comfort, or just the feeling of knowing, just being able to look at me, because I remember that feeling when I was in my early years of looking at people that were 10, 15 years, 20 years down the road and saying, oh, they made it, they're there and they look pretty good, so
they're okay. Yeah.
I can do this too. I can do this too. And you can, we've talked about that. It's a lot of hard work, and a lot of being intentional about finding joy and experiencing joy when those moments come to you. So, and being able to share Ashley's story and speak about organ donation and the impact that it can have on lives, and try to make people think about that. We've all learned that you just don't know what can happen in your life from one day to the other, and that you could be on either side of it, in need of an organ or a family member donating, and to think about it and tell your family members, so that it shouldn't have to be a hard decision for anyone to make if they
Yeah.
know your wishes. So it's what we feel we have left that we can do in Ashley's honor. That's been what we've chose to do for her. So
I love that.
I do too.
So being that this is the month of organ donation, I know I'm going to share about your story. I did with my family, and I have a teenager that's driving. And just by talking about Ashley and you and Terry, I got to hear that she wanted to be a donor, which I hadn't known about.
Right.
And so I think that's important to share. Now we have a personal story to talk and share about. So thank you for doing that.
That's what I think has happened with her over the years, that people knew her, and then they've heard the story, and they've continued to tell the story, and just the awareness, because it's not something a lot of people think about. It's not something that usually comes up every day until, oftentimes it is when they're 16 years old and go and get their driver's license, and they have to check that box and being like,
yeah.
I remember when we turned 16 or 20 or whatever like that, get renewals. Do you want to be an organ donor? And you check yes, so you would get $10 off.
That's right.
Like that was, back in the early days of that, we were like, yeah, I'll take the discount. Yeah.
For sure. So yeah, that's why
there is more to it than the driver's license discount. So
yeah.
Well, and I just wanted to remind the listeners, so if you wanted to hear more about who Ashley was, Christy does a beautiful job talking about Ashley and, of course, the accident, but just how she and her family worked through their grief and the strategies that she, figured out of how to, find her joy that she talks about. And so her episode is, what'd you say, Amy, 18?
Yes, her episode is number 18. And we also had her sister on, Annie.
No, my daughter. Ashley's sister. Yeah. Ashley's sister, my daughter.
Sister. Christy's daughter, who is Ashley's sister. And she was on episode 26.
Yeah.
So you can hear a sibling's view of having, having grown up without the sister, and everything. So it's a full circle here. We've got mom, we've got sister, and we've got her living on throughout the stories, the life, and 4 other lives.
Well, thank you, Christy, for being here. And I know I'm going to continue to share throughout April, but of course, just in general about Ashley and you and organ donation.
And enjoy spring break.
Thank you all so much for having me and giving me the opportunity to share this side of Ashley's story.
I love it.
You have the power to donate life.
Yes,
that's right.
Power. Thank you so much.
And you can visit our website too, www.warriormoms.me, and you can see just precious pictures of Ashley under Christy Howard's bio page.
Yep. Go visit. And thank y'all for listening. We'll talk to y'all next time.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.